here. I really am. And thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. As far as, like, I know we all here learning and everybody's at different levels, but this is coming from my sister Nick. She wants to know, like, how do you, as a new person, like, what are some things that you should be doing to help you get your practice together, get your spirit stronger, like, master your energy? Like, what are some things that newbies to the craft can do to kind of fortify themselves?
Well, first of all, I encourage everyone to, research, and there's a lot of material out there in social media, okay? And there are a lot of, especially on YouTube, there are a lot of channels and stuff that got a lot of wisdom, out there and knowledge. And also, go to your libraries. There are lots and lots of books, out there where you can get material and information, and go to Amazon. You can just, do like little keyword searches for whatever you're interested in, and it's right there. It's available to you. I mean, anybody can get books because, on Amazon, you can actually get like books that are like used books, that people are letting for just a little bit of nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of material out there for us, because it's like this is an old craft, but it's like new to us because most of us we've been in the church and everything, and we weren't brought up in the particular doctrine, but now we're turning back to it and everything, and I'm excited. I think we're all excited about it. And it's out there. Just get it. And how to make yourself strong. How to make yourself strong in the spirit. Well, you got to, first of all, get to a point where you really just don't care what people think about you. You know what I'm saying? You got to get to the point where I really just don't care what you think about me.
Right.
And see, a lot of us, we're afraid. We're afraid someone may laugh at us.
Yeah. That
Remember in school how it was in school? You may have felt like you wanted to do something different as far as how you wanted to dress, in a particular outfit, but you was kind of afraid that, somebody might say something, or you may be ostracized or whatever. You got to get to a point where that's not an issue anymore.
Say that.
Can't be worried about, oh my God, what are they going to do to me? Because there's going to be a lot of people that they're going to disagree with what you're doing and everything, because, people got a lot of different belief systems out there. You just got to follow your heart in this, you understand? And you have to listen to the ancestors, because they're going to lead you in the right way. Matter of fact, they're going to be excited that you're acknowledging them and you're taking an interest in listening to them. You know what I'm saying?
We had an interesting discussion recently in one of the circles about trusting your discernment, and how a lot of us, like, we are not in a space where, like you said, we worry too much about, number one, what other people think, and we also don't trust ourselves, so we always looking outside of ourselves for answers. Right? Even when it comes to stuff about us personally. And I think as you get older, especially for my generation, like, as we get older, we become a little bit more secure in those things. Like, we know that we have our radars turned on so we can see the bullshit out there, and we don't need other people's opinions or ideas or what people think to validate us or validate what we think or feel. But it's still something missing there, like something is still, it's out of whack. And I think it has a lot to do with us not being in communication with our elders, us not being in communication with sisters who are seasoned and have been through the things that we're going through and already passed it. So how do we reconnect with that? Like, how How do we get in touch with sisters who are more familiar, who are, more seasoned, not to, get their confidence, but to help fortify our own?
Well, it goes back to what I was saying. It's so much information, on social media, and YouTube once again is a great place. But it's getting difficult because I'm noticing that there are fewer sisters out there now that are, giving them jewels out and everything, and a lot of them say because, they're starting, it's starting to be some bullying going on YouTube right now. Because I have a lot of sisters that call me and say, hey, now I'm ready for more knowledge. I'm ready for more, mama. But I just can't find anybody. Mm-hmm. And it is a difficult task, trying to connect with like-minded people. I ain't going to lie to you. It really is. But once again, social media is there. And it's like when you find one person that is interested in what you are into, then there's another person that's interested. I mean, it's just like a domino effect. I mean, that person can lead you to other people. You just got to be willing to just go out there and get it.
Yeah.
No?
Right. Mm-hmm. And the reason I wanted to drive that point home is because it's a lot of, while there are a lot of people on YouTube who give out really great information, you have a lot of quacks out there, too, who are telling people to mix ingredients or mix incantations or do certain things that are way out of whack with what they should be doing. Things that, that don't go together, put these things together. So really, find a page that you really trust and see who they're subscribed to, see who they admire, see who they're talking about, and go check these other sisters out. And that's why I value your information and your channel so much, is because you're not out here, steering people wrong, and you really encouraging and empowering women to trust themselves. And This is a little side note. I was watching your a video you made about conjuring a fire spirit. And I'm gonna tell you, that joint was better than a scary movie at the end when you was like, and it sound like this, and then you made the noise, and then the video just I was like, oh, sweat. It blew my mind, but it took me, and this, I know we talked about this before, but I know that fire conjure was something that was so feared by Europeans when they came in contact with us over here, when they brought us over here. They were so afraid of it that they, in certain plantations in South Carolina and Georgia, they outlawed fire from being burned in the homes. Like, families froze to death. These are in narratives, accounts of the enslavement era by enslaved people, that it was so bad that they were so afraid of us and our ability to conjure fire spirits and use fire for magic that we couldn't burn fire in the house. So I want to know more about that. And I don't know if it's something like it's a secret that we can't share openly online, or anything that you can share on it that's not giving away too much of our shit, because I know I have a mixed audience of a lot of different people listening. I don't want you to say how you did it or, go into detail about it, but really just if you could break down the power behind it, that sort of thing.
I don't mind talking about, how I conjure, because, it's not going to work for everybody.
You're
honestly,
right.
I mean, you can have I can tell you all kind of ingredients you can put in that fire. What worked for me might not work for anyone else, and what works for others may not work for me. It just depends on you having favor with the spirit, honestly. I've read a lot of books on how to conjure or how to do rituals or what have you, and I've even tried and noticed that it didn't necessarily work. And I was like,
Right.
And so I don't know if it works for the person that actually wrote the ingredients for it or whatever. But I really feel like you have to have favor. You know what I'm saying? In order for these things to work, you have to have favor. So that's why I don't mind talking about, conjuring and everything. So let's talk about conjuring, fire spirits. A lot of people call fire spirits jinns, okay? I myself call them fire spirits, because there's spirits in everything. Spirits in the water, the wind, the fire, all of these elementals are, their energy, they're living, you know what I'm saying? They're living just like us. And, being able to, actually speak to them and they hear you and they show you favor. You see what I'm saying? Having that ability, you understand, is what, just that belief system, that's what makes it happen. But when you're dealing with fire spirits and stuff like that, you need to, you need to know what you're doing, because you just don't want to just go out there and just start doing things just because you saw somebody else doing it and everything. And so I want to put that disclaimer out there. I'll talk about it, but I'm not necessarily encouraging anyone to go out there and do it. But it just depends on what beatings you want, the energy to do for you. Okay?
Right.
So, like, say, for instance, give me some ideas. Some things that you may want to manifest. Give me some ideas.
I want to dismantle, like, let's say I want to do something against the police, not the force, but the system, the injustice system in America. That's when I would conjure a fire spirit. That would be the darker side, where I'm looking for retaliation, retribution.
Right.
Got you. Okay.
Right. So, and what the offerings that you give to the fire will also determine the work too. You see what I'm saying? Because the fire element is consuming it. You're feeding it to do your bidding.
Okay.
As you know, I'm in the practice of hoodoo, which hoodoo originated here in the South, I have to always name those states because I enjoy doing that. Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, all the way to North Carolina. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And so when our ancestors were working with these elements, and they always put the right element with what they were trying to manifest. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to be working with fire spirits, mostly, now this is just the way my ancestors taught me, okay? Because, we kind of lost practice and stuff as far as it being handed down from generation to generation, because, we got into the church, we got into the Bible. You understand what I'm saying? So the fact that we were trying to integrate, we kind of lost a lot of information. You know what I'm saying? But you can still contact your ancestors and they'll let you know, you understand, what you need to be doing. But when you're working with them fire spirits, to me, when you're working with fire spirits, it's more or less it's more like black magic to me. You want some darker forces when you're working with fire. Does that kind of make sense? That's why I say I caution people when they're working with fire elements. We just don't want to just go out there and just start doing something depending on your intentions or whatever.
Who might be a little bit blown away or afraid or turned off or put off when they hear things like this, understand that our craft, like the way that we work, the way our ancestors work, the way we discuss good and evil or good and bad, negative and positive, is very different from the Eurocentric and European view of what how it was taught to us about, like, turn the other cheek and, always out good vibes. Like, there are certain things that you have to bring justice to it. Like, take, for example, Philando Castile's murderer was just acquitted. I believe it was today or yesterday. This man, and his name is Geronimo. And Geronimo was I believe a Mexican or Native American revolutionary, who fought Europeans and Eurocentrism, if I remember correctly. But this man named Geronimo, who was overtaken with the European mind, who was clearly not European, shot and killed the brother because he was afraid. And this brother was sitting in his car minding his business. He had no weapon. He posed no threat. And so in these instances, it's not that you want to cast at Geronimo, but if you want to make this whole system understand that we are not to be played with. You can't just kill us in the streets and that's the end of it. Something has to happen to bring this system to its knees and they got to know that it came from us. And so I feel like if we collectively use our juju to come back and retaliate at these systems, that would be going back to the way our ancestors won revolutions, the way Haiti won the Haitian Revolution, the way in Jamaica, Queen Nanny had the Maroons up in the mountains for a lot, like years before Europeans came in and were able to undo all the work that she had done. So, every instance where we've used our magic and used our ability to call on the energies and the spirits to retaliate on our behalf, we've been successful. And I feel like we have to kind of undo the things that we've learned, like unlearn the things that we have learned and really come into our power and use it to do something about what's going on.
And we have a lot of fear.
Yeah, we have a lot of.
Thank you for listening to the Nine Minds Radio Show. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with our episode. Now, I know Urban Essentials has everything the skin needs. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. We carry organic and natural handcrafted bath bombs, body butter, soap, and infused oils. We also carry handmade earrings and Zodiac cuffs. You can find Urban Essentials at urbanessentials.us on Facebook, urban_essentials.us on Instagram, and Urban, this one is spelled URBN_essentials on Twitter.
All right. Thank you so much, Nick.
Right, because the moment you say the word spirit, you know how African Americans you know how they get. Oh, I don't mess with no spirit, and I think it's like we're programmed to feel that way, because we are ancestors. All of their memories have been programmed into us, okay? And they were taught to fear spirit, How were they taught to fear spirits? Because I'm sure they beat us. You understand? They tortured us. They did all kind of heinous things to us. You know what I'm saying? They made an example out of us, that instilled that fear in us. You know what I'm saying? Dragged you in the street, set you on fire, tarred you down. Those memories are still with us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they can be triggered. That fear can be triggered at any moment. So, it's really difficult for us, and the fact that the information has been lost.
Right.
And I know what you're saying. Where are we going to get the information? We got to get our information from our ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Because they're talking
from the earth itself.
They know we're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they know we're ready for it right now. But it's just the fact that, it's going to take, you the catalyst to get it started,
Mm-hmm.
You young women, you're the catalyst. And like just having your radio show, this is another avenue for, sisters that want more knowledge, want more information, and what they learn from you, then, hey, they can go out and teach more. This is the start right here, right now.
Right.
We're fixing to get away from the church, okay? The church ain't working no more. We've been going to church all these years, and look like our situation is getting worse. We just got to turn back to what we was doing before all of this madness.
Mm-hmm.
Got to go back, and we're going back. We're going back. That's why we got to learn everything we possibly can right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the power is in the flame. The power is in the fire. That's where it is. You read the fire. The fire is a messenger. You know what I'm saying? You got me on fire now, so I want to just talk about conjuring and fire right now for some reason. All the way.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all the way from a huge bonfire. You know what I'm saying? All the way down to just a flame and a candle. It speaks to us. Those are our ancient ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? That are bringing messages to us.
Right.
But in order to get ourselves out of this situation, yes, we got to go back to practicing the ancient spiritual religion. We got to go back to that.
Right.
Yes. Because this new system of technology does not work in our favor,
Right. Right, that's right. And that's something I know a lot of sisters have trouble with, because aside from not knowing where to start, which I always say the best place to start is meditation, right? And people say, well, I don't know how to meditate. I can't get quiet or still enough to do it. And I always say, do what you can do. Whatever meditation is to you, you have to get yourself still so you can learn how to control and direct your thoughts and your energy. Because if you just start throwing stuff together and hopping out there trying to, do things that you have no concept of, you could hurt yourself more than you're helping yourself.
Yes. Lots of research, and that's what we need to do, a lot of reading and networking, and even maybe, traveling overseas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To go to some. I'm encouraging us. We need to go to the villages and everything. I'm gonna tell you something about the wealthy. While our children are probably just out on summer break, probably just sitting around watching TV, eating hamburgers and chips and playing PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? Or probably going to the Y. I don't know, the YMCA or camp. The wealthy are sending their children to Africa.
Yes. South America.
Or to Asia.
Yeah.
They're traveling abroad and they're learning and they're helping, they're learning, and like I say, there are some other avenues to embark on, when we travel, like witnessing a real voodoo ceremony or some of those things, and going out to the villages and stuff and participating in a drumming ceremony. We need to get our hands on so we can get this knowledge, get this wisdom. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot to be done for those who are eager and you want it, but at the same time, too, you want to be safe. You know what I'm saying? We got to get out there and get with people who have more knowledge than we do.
Right. That's right.
And
who have access to traditions that we've lost access to. Because in the same way, you look at all these different cultures who have these cultures that have the same themes, like cultural themes all over the world, especially melanated indigenous groups, right? Whether it be gauging your ears or the lip plate or nose rings or drums, or whatever the case may be, these things that are culturally all over, because people don't realize that there was cultural sharing going on before white people transported Africans to America, right? There were Africans who were leaving Egypt and leaving West Africa thousands of years before Christopher Columbus was even a thought. So,
thank you.
There were, expeditions of giant boats leaving, that side of the world and coming over here, and they were sharing things with each other, exchanging things with one another. And, we don't have, it's not our fault because we were never taught that. We were taught something very different. We were taught lies. We were deliberately lied to about our history and who we are and what we've already done before Europeans were even people on the planet. So where I'm going with that is what you just said about travel. That's so important. I grew up traveling. Like, my father was in the military, and we lived everywhere. We lived all over. Never lived out the country, but I've traveled out the country. And it's nothing that expands your mind to the reality that we are a global people than going somewhere else outside of where you've been before. You know what I mean? Really start to expand your mind. And I think you're right. And more than just the children, us as grown women and grown men, we need to expand our consciousness. And that ain't just going to come from reading a couple of books. We can't just read, what's his name, Scott Cunningham books and Silver Ravenwolf and, not even just Francis Cress Welsing or, Ivan Van Sertima. We have to actually go to what these people are talking about, and really get to the root of who we are and what we're capable of, and that's really the main way we'll build confidence and trust in ourselves as the original people of the planet. So,
Right. I mean, we need to change our ideology. That's why we got to travel. That's why we got to go abroad. You know what I'm saying? Because, we got to deprogram ourselves because it has been embedded in us that, that everything that was written in his storybook is true.
Right.
And even though, we're saying constantly that it's not true, everything in that book is not true, but in the back of your head, you know what I'm saying, it has been engraved in your head that it is true.
Right.
So we really need to travel abroad. We got to go to these places,
Mhm.
It's crazy because if I'm not mistaken, they do have like a grant program, and pardon me if I'm not right, but I read where they have a grant program for the Jews to travel home.
Right.
You heard about that? They can fly home.
I don't know what it's called.
Oh, gosh, I wish I did. But if you all go out and search for the information, Jews can travel free of charge, get a free airline ticket, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you can go and travel if you're a Jew. I really feel like they need programs like that also for African-American people to be able to travel free of charge on the government.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think so? So that we can go out there, so we can go out there, you know what I'm saying, and chase our roots.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's right. And that's because, and then it's like, what roots are the Jews? Which Jews? You talking about European Jews? The tracing roots?
Yeah, but thank you.
Where are you going to trace your roots? That shit is weird.
Okay.
I had
Thank you.
This beautiful sister. She asked me about she sent me her genealogy test, and she was like, I don't know what the fuck this means. Basically, like, well, I don't understand it. And so I explained to her that they're giving her. Well, first of all, I don't know how accurate it is, but I do know that it doesn't paint a whole entire picture of your cultural history. It might tell you that you have this percentage of Bantu, this percentage of Nigerian, this percentage of Mali, genetic, these Malian genetic markers, and you might have, this percent of South African. So I'm like, so she's like, but I don't get what it means. I said, okay, so basically it's telling you that genetically these are the regions that your people are from, but it doesn't give you where they lived when you came about, because just because someone has genes from South Africa doesn't mean that their people lived in South Africa at the time that your line was started. These are people who could have traveled from South Africa to Asia to, Europe and back to, into America, settled in America, and then started their bloodline. You know what I mean? So
right.
it doesn't give you a full history.
But we know that we are the indigenous people of the United States of them. I mean, it's common sense. You know, we traveled, okay, in our ships on our own, navigated ourselves here.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people, like, well, where's your information? Where's your research? Well, ask them about where did they get their research. Okay, the people that wrote these history books for us. Okay, where did they get their information from? Right. I know they're gonna ask me where I got mine from, but I want to know where they got theirs from. Okay, right. We were here before Christopher Columbus got here. You know, I said we were here before Christopher Columbus. You understand? Right. So-called, discovered America. We were already here. Right. So he really didn't discover anything, did he?
No, he didn't.
If anything, he discovered we were here.
Right.
Hello?
Exactly.
Right. So what we got to do, we really need to pay attention to what the ancestors, you understand, what they are offering us, what they want to tell us, what they want to speak to us. You know what I'm saying?
And I know for me.
I said we have to listen to them.
Thank you. And that was my next question.
But we pray. Because sometimes to listen to the ancestors, you may have to be in a dark, quiet room. We are in our quiet rooms by ourselves.
Yes. I'm going to tell you, like, back in, I know I talk about 2012 a lot, but that's when everything started opening up for me. Back in 2012, I started doing things that I have no explanation for why I was doing them. And one of the main things I first started doing was taking showers in the pitch black with no candles, no nothing. I would turn the light off.
You brave, girl. You brave.
And that's what happened to me. I had, it was an energy that came to me, and it said to me, and it was scary. It was big. And it seemed like the energy of it was very, very, it was almost overwhelming. And I just stood my ground. I'm in the shower with this, warm water washing over me, and I could feel it. And I could see it in my mind's eye, but I could feel it. And, but I think that I'm brave by nature, right? And so I'm just standing my ground, and so it laughs at me, like, I'll fuck you up, but, you standing there like you something, and it says, you have more courage than you know, and it walked like it left me. It left me in that moment, and it was like a powerful moment where I knew that there were gifts that I had inside me, things that I needed to pull out, but I wasn't ready, and I don't know why I wasn't ready, I just wasn't ready. And so for that for that energy to tell me, you have more courage than you know, it really helped me get over a lot of the fears that I had. My fear of the dark, my fear of, drowning, or my fear of catching fire, or anything dealing with the elements, my fear of being wrapped up in a tornado. Like, I was afraid of a lot of things. And the more I meditated and the more I followed what my spirit was telling me, the less afraid I became. And I didn't have a whole lot of people, like, holding my hand. And, I wasn't asking people a whole lot of questions. I had a lot of, now, to say I didn't have teachers is a flat-out lie. I had a lot of people who would come into my life for brief moments in time, a couple of months, a couple of weeks, and they would give me tools. I met up with some people from the Academy of Cosmophysics, and they gave me some starting points for learning astrology. I met up with a Ifa high priestess of Yemonja, and she gave me some tools that I could use in my meditation and in my ritual to help me get stronger. She actually gave me a bath to take that I had already made weeks prior to talking to her. So she was like confirmation that I was on the right path, that I was doing the right things, that spirit was already initiating and guiding me the way I needed to be guided. And so whenever I talk to sisters and, you know, I feel never overwhelmed, but I feel like they, you know, they might be looking outside themselves a little bit too much, I always say, listen, I encourage you to go inside yourself for answers because you have everything you need inside you. You don't need me. You don't need anybody to tell you what you already know. All you have to do is be brave. So
that's true. And I heard you when you was talking about the fear. And I mean, I would like to ask the audience, you know, and ask you what we need to ask ourselves. Where did the fear come from? You know?
Thank you.
That's what's interesting. If there's anyone out there that says, you know, I fear this, I fear that, you know, we need to confront the fear. You know, how it got there in the first place, because we already know our ancestors were working with all of this. I mean, did they have fear? I mean, they got a lot of things accomplished back in those days. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, we got protection now. You know, our little physical protection, like, oh, you can call the cops if somebody come in and try to break in your house or whatever. You know, but back in them days, honey, they were dealing with a lot of things, and it wasn't no cops to call. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They were dealing with elements. They were dealing with, you know, wild animals. They had all of that going on. Those were some brave people.
Mhm.
When you know?
Yep. That's right.
We got to be strong for the women out there that are saying, because you know, like sometimes people, you know, they want reading. They say, Mom, I want to read, but I'm scared. You know, we got to confront this fear. What are we afraid of?
Mhm. That's our shit. Like who we are.
Scared.
We are spirit.
Yeah, who,
we are
girl?
nature-based. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Right. And I think that's that. I mean, you know, you asked me in the beginning, how can we get stronger?
Mm-hmm.
We got to conquer that fear.
Mm.
Got to get to a point where you're not afraid of nothing. You ain't even afraid to die.
Say that again.
Said, hey, you know that some of those priests, they bury them for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Come out from under there, when they dig them up, they're more powerful than anything. They're more powerful than ever.
When you say that, when you say we can't even be afraid to die. The first thing that comes to my mind is the death of your old consciousness, the death of the things that you thought were important and the things that you thought
that's what happened to you in 2012. I'm not trying to cut you off, but that's what happened to you in 2012.
Mhm.
It is said that has happened to a lot of people in 2012.
Right. I found that out later. I found that out more recently that 2012 was a revelation year. Like it was more potent in terms of revelation, spiritual development, and awareness than the year 2000 or 1999. More people started having more intense spiritual experiences that year. And it's crazy because I was at the time I was living with my cousin in 2011, and I think it was right after the New Year, like January 4th, I moved into my own apartment and I was living by myself for the first time in my life. And I had the bare minimum. I had a couch, I had a bed, I had a dining table, and I was cooking out of a crock pot every day, taking lunch to work. I wasn't buying a bunch of stuff. I was, making sure my bills was paid because I wanted to live peacefully. I wanted to live minimalistically. I had plants everywhere, though. So that was the only thing I was doing was growing my plants. But I kept it very simple. I had my small bookshelf with my altar items on it. I had my prayer rug from my Muslim days, my hardcore Sister Larisha Muhammad days, and I would meditate on my prayer rug, and I would think about a story that a brother told me about a female imam. I think her name was either Ruqayya or Rashida. I know it started with an R. And she had some disciples around her, and they were excited because they had learned to levitate on their prayer rugs. And she flew up in the air and just flew all around the room, a bunch of times, and she landed right back in front of him and was like, get back to your dhikr, or, saying your oft-repeated statements. And so it's like, it's like as soon as you think you done got somewhere because you could do a little something, or you could see some things in people a little better than you did before, somebody else comes around and shows you this is how far you have to go. And then you know what I'm saying? It's like you realize you ain't quite the shit that you thought you was. So it's like important to stay humble as you learn and as you grow. And really, I think for black women, we have to not be afraid to be alone for a while. We have to not be afraid to get in our own skin and feel uncomfortable in our own skin until we feel comfortable in it, and be alone in that process. Like, a caterpillar in a cocoon. We got to get in our cocoon so we can be the butterfly. So
that's true. I have had quite a few women to call me and say, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm no longer in a relationship anymore. I have gone natural, or I'm dreadlocking, and my partner, said that they couldn't deal with it. So I just had to walk away. It's time for me to discover who I am, get to know self. So sometimes you're gonna have to. We're gonna have to walk away from some of these relationships. Especially if it's going to impede our journey. Don't you agree?
Agree 100%. We can't.
Because a lot of sisters are held back because they're in these relationships with these men that are not equally yoked.
Same. And the same.
They're not going anywhere, and they don't want you to go nowhere.
Yep. They want you to be stagnant, or they don't understand, and they are letting their fear get the better of them. They're afraid of how far you'll go, or how different you'll become, or how you won't start to believe the way they believe anymore. Your reality is going to become a different reality than theirs, and it is. Their fear is not unfounded. Your reality is going to become a different reality than theirs. And so if they can't either take the journey with you or watch you with respect and love as you take your journey and grow in their own ways at their own pace with you, which 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. 9 times out of 10, a man is not going to be comfortable with the ways that you are growing and changing, and he's not going to want to watch you do that, because it means that he no longer has the power or the control or the he's not quite the head of your scenario anymore. And so if you find a man who, even if he resists in the beginning, if he can learn to understand and respect and let you blossom and fly, keep that man. But if he can't, let him go, because you're better off alone. You're better off trying to figure it out and wait for someone who is going to respect you and your journey. So.
We got work to do.
We got a lot of work to do.
We got a lot of work to do. I mean, and a limited amount of time to get it done. And, and black women got a lot of people working against them. We got a lot of forces working against us right now. You know
Everybody
what I'm saying?
is, but you know what? We got the most powerful force working in our favor.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Well, Mama, listen, I want to hit you with a couple of questions, and then we could go ahead and end the call. How do you feel about cultural appropriation?
Well, honey, at this particular point, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm not even interested in what they doing, honey. I'm just doing me right now. Mama's just doing her thing. Honey, I am just broken. A lot of people say, oh, well, you still stuck in the matrix. Oh, you're still in. I'm like this right here. You can say whatever you got to say. I don't care about TV. I don't care anything about anything but myself. What I want to do, what I'm here to do for myself personally. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's I think that's the best for us to look at it, because we can't keep harping on what they doing with our shit, because this is what they do. Like, if you have no natural inherent connection to spirit, you're going to grab anything you could get a hold of to try to make it happen, to try to develop it. And African traditional religion or hoodoo or conjure or root work is no exception to that. I feel like, that's
what I like about, like what I practice here in hoodoo, and everything, you can incorporate whatever in your practice. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I may, at one moment, I may be, throwing the Bible in there, Psalms, you know what I'm saying? The next thing, I may be chanting something, the Buddhist chant, it's just a lot. It's just a huge gumbo of different practices and religions, that we incorporate in our work and everything. You know what I'm saying? And you can be very solitary in that too. So that's what I like about, what I practice.
Gotcha.
Hello?
Okay, yeah. Now my next question, I know there are like certain herbs that we know to use for certain things. Like if you're putting together a money spell, you're going to need some basil, some honey, and some cinnamon. Or if you're putting together some, maybe some powder to keep somebody away, like hot foot or whatever, you're going to put cayenne salt, things like that. Like what are some of your favorite out-the-box herbs to use that people don't usually put in their stuff when they do work? Do you have any, like, food items or clothing or, things like that?
Honey, it goes back to this again. You got to realize, I know they got a lot of different, recipes out there. They got all kind of things. But, honey, I'll throw whatever in there, because it's really your intentions when you think about it. It's your intention.
That's all it is your intention.
That's it. I might want to just throw rocks in it.
Yeah.
Saying? I may put sand in it. You may be saying, I'm going to put some basil, this or whatever in there. I may just want to put some sand in it and some seashell. It's the intention. Mm-hmm. I don't go by no guides or anything like that. There's no guidelines in what I do.
Thank you. Me either. And that's what I think is so powerful about it, because I be half the time, and I tell sisters all the time, I don't do a lot of spells. Like, I hardly ever do work, and I definitely don't do work for other people. But even when I do it for myself, it is very minimal, and I get quick results. But it's like, I feel like if I can put my intention into my work, into the things that I'm actually doing and making with my hands, that's going to be strong enough to start to bring about the change that I seek if I do a spell. If I mix a whole bunch of stuff into some honey or some syrup or some Cairo or whatever, I could just think about it, and that shit is going to start to unfold, because that's how it happens. That's how things happen for me. I don't have to do a whole lot of spells and putting stuff together and, doing this and that. I will if I really feel like compelled to do it, and I have, but it's not something that I do very often because I never have had to. So, for any sisters out there who are like, oh, I need a spell book, oh, I need this, like, no, you need to meditate and let spirit guide you and tell you what to put in your mix so that it can be powerful for you, because none of us are the same. We all have different things that we need to manifest the things that we desire. So.
Right. And what you said when you said spell. A lot of people think that spell is just like just mixing this, mixing that, or whatever. But spell is wording, just speaking your intention. Mm-hmm. When you speak a word, that is a spell. That's why they say you spelling a word. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Just point that finger out there and say, this is what's going to happen to you. Did you see where Nettie pointed at Mister and said, everything done to, how she said it, everything done to me, already done to you. That right there was a spell.
Yep.
And sure enough, at the end of the movie or at the end of the book, he called hell.
Yep.
She had hexed and cursed him just by pointing that finger.
Yep, and saying her words.
That's true. That's true. So it's actually the intentions, not necessarily the ingredients. Don't get me wrong. Now herbs, which come from plant life, plants have spirit. So don't get me wrong. Using a plant life and the spirit in the plant is very powerful, also too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I don't necessarily any kind of recipes or anything that in a book. I always let my ancestors, you know what I'm saying, and my spirits guide me in the right direction. And they'll tell me exactly what to do. And the only way to know exactly what your spirit's got to say to you, you got to get yourself in a quiet place. Sometimes it's a dark place you might have to go in, a dark closet, okay, pitch black, and they'll talk to you. You got to be careful. There are some malevolent spirits out there trying to misguide you. And I think that's why a lot of women have fear of being in those dark quiet places.
Yep. I give sisters a statement to say that usually works for me to clear out malevolent energies and entities that I don't want around, because you can feel them as soon as you get into a spot. I say, please invite, I seek only the presence of my highly evolved ancestors. All other energies and entities leave this space now and never return. And sometimes you have to make a noise, you have to clap, or you have to
ring
say
a
something
bell.
like shoo, 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 shoo. Like you have to say something to clear them, like force them out, to tell them to get out and don't come back. And you only ask for the presence of your highly evolved ancestors. And a lot of times I've never encountered so when I say that, I haven't encountered an energy that meant to mislead me that I know of. Let me put it like that. So,
that's good. Now, I'm just going to be honest, and I'm not trying to frighten anybody. I have encountered some malevolent spirits, some cunning ones. And it's probably because I talk to a lot of people out there. Okay? And also I'm noticing that a lot of sisters are calling me that are dealing with malevolent spirits, having nightmares, frightening nightmares. So I'm not trying to scare anybody out there, but it's not all honey. I'm just going to be honest with you. And you that was good, giving that information out to them, letting them know that they can clear these energies away from around them before they start their meditation. And I'm encouraging the sisters to do so. Yes, because some of them, they will actually pretend to be, people that you may be trying to contact. Come all loving and light. They'll do that. So you have to be real careful and everything. But you got to know the spirit.
Right.
Got to know the spirit.
Got you.
Because they'll raise themselves in the bodies of the people you trust.
Right.
But you know the spirit, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
You can discern the spirit.
Discern the spirit. That's right.
There. It just depends on how deep you're going into your practice. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially like
I don't want to make it all easy and roses, and it's all just going to be, the good stuff. You're going to encounter some negative, unpleasant things too, and that's just by virtue of clearing out your own demons from the inside as well. Facing your own negativity too. That stuff will really have you feeling like you got to throw up. So, yeah.
That's true. Right. Yeah.
Mama, go ahead. Tell people how they can find you on YouTube or any of your social medias, how they can reach out to you for readings or services, and, where people can find you and contact you.
Well, as you all already know, I'm on YouTube, so that's my little place, that I'm at, Spiritree. If you want to go and find me on YouTube, it's Spiritree Nemma, Spiritree, Nemma, Nemma, and I have another channel, The Wisdom Witch. You know, just come out and be a part of it, you know, and come and get some gems, jewels, and golden nuggets. How about that? I always tell everybody, you might need them. You might not need them gems right now, but just go ahead and put it in your bag somewhere up ahead of your road. You're going to need it.
Thank you. That's right. Go ahead and get it.
We need to connect with our elders too. I'm not lying. We need to connect with them, you know, especially elders that got some knowledge, some wisdom to give to us. A lot of people say it's hard to find some elders out there right now.
It's not really, it's hard, but it's not. Because a lot of times what will happen is they'll reach out to you when they feel like you are, I guess, worthy of passing the information along to. Elders will actually reach out to you. They'll tap you. But if you really just want to put yourself out there, you got to go seek them out. And you have to, you know, show yourself to be worthy so that they can start to open up to you. And they're not going to tell you everything just like how we talking right now, just tell you stuff that y'all could be working together or doing something together, and they'll drop a gem on you related to what y'all doing. So, you know, it comes when you're ready for it, I believe.
That's true. That's true. And, you know, basically, if you can incorporate all of these elements, you know, in your life and everything, I don't see where you can go wrong. I really don't. But I would like to offer, you know, some information, like some other places that you can go and get more knowledge to all of the sisters out there. Check out Jambalaya. I guess I'm giving Louisa Tish a shout out. That book has been like a Bible for me for the last 8-9 years. You ever heard of Jambalaya?
Yep, we're reading that right now in one of the groups as a part of our book club. We're reading Jambalaya, and I think we about to be on chapter 7, and that's actually being headed up by a sister I interviewed the earlier part of this year, sometime last year, named Daisy October Latifa. This beautiful girl, this beautiful woman is under 30, and she has more wisdom in her heart and in her mind and spirit than a lot of sisters I know who are twice her age. So, you know, she actually, we voted on the book, but that was one of her suggestions. Yep. So we're reading.
One thing about that book, you're always gonna be able to go in there and find new information. You know. Yep. You can read it, but if you keep it with you, you need, you know, some situations answered, I guess, questions answered or whatever. You can go to that book. It's right there in that book. Like I always say, it's a Bible. It's a Bible. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a very good start for the newbies.
Yes, it is.
I have a lot of newbies contacting me and saying, hey, I just don't know where to start. I'm hungry for knowledge. I'm hungry for wisdom. Where do I get started? I always tell them, Jambalaya. Get that right. Well, do you have some books too?
Oh, I do. Oh, shoot. I didn't even catch the cue. I'm sorry.
All of them, just in case.
My favorite book about the history of hoodoo, root work and conjure is Mojo Working, the Old African American Hoodoo System by Katrina Hazard Donald. That book right there opened me up to a whole different reality about what we call hoodoo in America. And I have always, since I started studying African traditional religions, I've been very turned off by how they downplay our practice here in America like it wasn't shit, like it was just, love spells and revenge spells and, doing stuff, but it was a syncretized, organized practice, and through legislation and force, it was dismantled, and through cultural appropriation, Europeans, Jews, coming into the black community to learn about the healing practices what we knew about herbs and roots and tinctures and, you know, how we would conjure spirits or how we would call on our ancestors. They came in and they learned all these things, and, you know, for, for the past over 60, 70 years, they've had businesses selling our shit back to us, making millions of dollars every year. And so, you know, when she breaks down the marketeers and the history of hoodoo and root work and conjure and how it manifested in the churches in the 1800s, that book really it's a very practical. It's practical information. It's not quite like jambalaya where you're getting into the spiritual side of things, but it's actually like the historical context of things. So mojo working. Let's see. There's another book I just started reading called it's something about slave medicine in the antebellum South, or something dealing with how our conjure and root work and healing traditions all tied into each other. How it was all under one umbrella. Nothing was separate. Spiritual wasn't separate from physical, wasn't separate from scientific, wasn't separate from math. It was all related. And that kind of holistic approach, I think, is what we have to get back to in order to, you know, heal ourselves as a people. So, yeah.
When you think about it, hoodoo, I mean, it was our life, you know?
Yep.
That's what we had. That's all we had. Because, I mean, you couldn't go and get justice.
Right. Exactly. And still can't. What you think? You think you can't? You bugging. You still need that. We still got to get back to that. Because we ain't getting justice right now in this common era. So.
So, you know, that's where it's at. The craft is that's where we should all be, you know what I'm saying? When you can't get justice in the justice system, you turn to your ancient ways. That's what you turn to. You know, I want to say hoodoo because that's practically what I do, you know what I'm saying? So, like I say, you know, if you can't get justice, you know, working with hoodoo, honey, you can't get justice no other way. There's no other way to me. I mean, that's it. It's my life here. Right. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's all we had. If you didn't have any money, what you did? You turned to hoodoo. And we really didn't even call it hoodoo.
Nope.
I don't know what they called it, you know, on y'all's end or whatever, but when I was really young, they would just say, they be doing that stuff. That's what they be doing. But they never really called it hoodoo. I think hoodoo may just be a commercialized word that they use to describe it. I'm not too sure about that.
Mhm.
So when you were doing work for a client, you wouldn't be saying, I'm going to do some hoodoo. You know, we would say, okay, we got a job to take care of.
We called it work.
Go ahead.
We would say phrases like work and roots. You know, like we didn't have one word for it. It was just, we knew what it was when we was doing it. And
right.
I don't know, we not like Europeans. We don't have to put a label to everything. We just do what we do, and that's enough for us.
True. That's true. And it's so commercialized now. It's all about the money right now, honey. It's all about the money.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just caution people out there, you know, when you purchasing these books and stuff like that and getting this information, some of it might not necessarily be true, you know, because it's so commercialized. And so I say that if you're going to get some books, you know, pertaining to the subject matter, you may just want to be getting those books from people who probably grew up here in the culture. People who, what do you think? What's your take on it?
I think that's the only way we can get it, is to get it from our people who are still in it. We can't rely, but at the same time, one of my elders, she told me you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So if Europeans have a lot of our shit on lock, or they have access to information that we don't have because they took it from us, we can and should take it back and use it to our advantage. But our best bet is to go to our people who still have it, because we didn't just lose it across the board. We actually have people who still have access. Like, I know you probably have plenty of people in your family who still remember the old ways. So it's like, you know, and I only have, as far as I know, I only have one. My Aunt Alice, who healed me when I was 11 years old. Like, she was a healer, and she took care of me when I was 11 years old from a sickness that I had. You know, I don't know what was going on with me, but she completely cleared me, and she didn't give me nothing. She put on her robes and her hat, and she got some water, and she opened her Bible, and she started praying over me out of it was either Psalms or Proverbs. So, you know,
back in those days we didn't have doctors, you know.
Mhm.
And so who did we go to? You know, we would probably go to someone who knew the practice. You go down to Miss Susan's house. Miss Susan could tell you exactly what you needed to do about that cough you couldn't get rid of, because you couldn't go to no doctor because they wouldn't treat us. You know, and especially during those days when some of us were enslaved or whatever, you know, they said one time they had veterinarians that took care of us, you know. Like old Master would call up a veterinarian to see about us, and even he couldn't do anything for us. So once again, Miss Susan, she came in there, she knew what to do to get you well.
Right.
And like you said, it had nothing to do with an antibiotic pill, or they didn't have no pills then. And they lived to get old. So what's going on now? What's wrong with us now? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We following behind them. We feel like they got the answers. I mean, it was everything that we believe. It's by design that we believe it. Like, we at one point, like I said, we didn't go to hospitals. Number one, we wasn't allowed, and number two, we already had our own doctors in our own neighborhoods who knew, like you said, who knew what to give us for every illness. And then once they started to see, especially in the 1930s, that's when they was like, you know what, we going through this depression. We need to figure out how we can get these niggas money. So they had health departments where we could go, you know, where black people were allowed to go, where it wasn't the general hospital, it wasn't the main hospital, it was the health department in your city where black people could go to get services and whatnot.
And we already know what that agenda was all about. It was an agenda behind that. Yep.
Yep, and then you fast
I
forward.
just go back and see the old folks would always say, I ain't going to no hospital. And I always wondered what was going on, you know. Why Grandma don't want to go to the hospital? Because she knew that a lot of the times they were carrying out experiments on us.
Yep.
And so Grandma stayed at home and got herself where she made herself a little tea and everything. And she'd be just fine. And then when we got sick, she made us a nice little tea, a little tincture and everything. I don't know why we got it in our head. We have to go to these doctors and we have to go to these hospitals and stuff, because we really don't necessarily need them unless we have emergencies and stuff like that. Especially like, you know, I see women, you know, going and having their babies. Don't get me wrong, I have my babies in the hospital too. But we don't necessarily have to go to hospitals to have our babies, you know?
Yep, I testify. I would never in a hospital to have my baby unless I'm dying. And that's real. I will never go to a hospital to deliver a child unless
they do carry out experiments on us, and you know, they want that placenta. You know what I'm saying? That placenta is $1 billion industry, maybe $1 trillion industry. They want that placenta, honey, especially the melanated placenta, because they create lots of medications and products from it. She said, at home with you.
Yep.
That's your.
I got my daughter's placenta. We kept her placenta attached until her cord actually it dried, And so I cut it at the base, dried, and I kept it sterilized and cleaned and everything. And 2 days after she was born, I cut it. So we have her placenta in the freezer, and this next one I'm about to have, we're keeping that one too. I encouraged my sister-in-law when she went to the hospital to tell them, I said, don't ask them if you can have it. Tell them you want your baby's placenta and for them to give it to you. And they looked at her like she had 10 heads, like, what are you going to do with it? I said, tell them that you're going to I said, tell them you're going to encapsulate it because all the white women are doing it. It's a huge trend right now. So just tell them you're going to eat the placenta. And whatever.
If it worked now, because I had one sister that said they wouldn't allow her to have it. And I did have my wisdom two of them in the back extracted, and I told them I wanted it, demanded to have it, and they denied me my own wisdom teeth. Hello?
They can't do that. By law, they are not allowed to do that.
Well, they did.
They will, but if you tell them, you know, I'll call the police, that's my property, you have to give it to me, they'll give it to me.
Okay, so and it's good that the word out there to the sisters, and is good that you getting it out there to them because what do they want with it? You know, why do you have to have my property? What do you plan on doing with it?
It has. I'm telling you, the placenta, the umbilical cord, those things have stem cells in them that they use for stem cell research, not just stem cell research, but to create, like you said, pills, to create cures. And if you black, they not trying to give you shit. They don't want to give you anything. You know, you got thousands of girls going missing in D.C., and we all conspiracy theorizing that they harvesting organs of these black teenage girls. We don't know what's going on because nobody's getting involved or seems to care what's going on. So, you know, it's like they used to eat us, like straight up and down, catch us, butcher us, and eat us, share us, like lynch us and take our body parts, grill it, and eat it on the spot. So it's like, what makes you think that of people, if they were that wicked, if they that weird and wicked, what make you think they wouldn't be as weird and wicked to do some stuff you can't even think of right now, covertly? But, you know, you can't say that to everybody. People get offended. Like, white people didn't eat us. Like, yes, they did. Go research it. They ate us. They probably still eat us.
And I tell people, watch your daughters. Keep an eye on your sons. Don't just let them just go out there. You know, right now there's a big, huge black market, like you say, for organs, for skin, you know, and these melatonin pills. I'm a big fan of Bobby Hemmett, so y'all check him out.
Right.
Bobby Hemmett theorized that they were using skin, okay, to create melatonin pills.
Wow.
Melanated skin. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, where is this melatonin coming from? Where is it coming from?
Right. I said, yep.
We need to ask some questions.
This European kid in my class, I was in the Air Force, and I was learning how to be a jet engine mechanic. I sucked at it real bad. And there was this kid in my class who was European, but he was like albino European. They all albinos, but he was like his eyes were really like light blue, and his hair was real blonde, and he had absolutely no color to him. And he was drinking a melatonin drink, and I always been weirded out by that. I was like, what is that for? And he kind of looked at me. I said, like, seriously, melatonin, melanin, like that don't seem weird to you? He was like, it helps you fall asleep. And then I'm like, we're in the middle of class drinking something that
Thank
helps
you.
Extra weird to me, but I know that melanin is one of those hormones that help, and more than just a hormone, but it's one of those substances in your body that helps regulate your sleep cycle, among other things. And so, you know, he's taking in the middle of class to help regulate a sleep cycle. There's way more to it than that. So.
Oh, well, girls, I can only talk. I'm just gonna be a little bit quiet this time, okay? Don't let me get to talk about it.
Right,
yeah, we know going on with those pills. So that's why I'm encouraging everybody to keep an eye on their children, and especially young women. You don't need to be careful right now because they do have an agenda right now. They do have an agenda, and they have a need and a demand for melanin. How much they say melanin is worth? How much do you know about that?
Yeah, I saw that. It's like a 2-ounce bottle for $1 million or something like that. It's,
what?
You saw that movie Get Out where they wanted that they want your consciousness in your body, and in order to get your consciousness, they had to hypnotize you into falling into the sunken place, right? So they take you down deep into your own mind where you're trapped and you can't come out. And then they take out your frontal lobe and replace it with whoever's taking over your body. So you are still in there, like you're still in the body and in your mind, but you're so deep down in there that you can't get control of yourself. And on top of that, your frontal lobe is missing, so you really can't get control. Somebody else is in the driver's seat of your own brain and body. So it's like we are in the middle of, we've been lobotomized, and now we have to figure out how to come from out of the sunken place and take over the medical procedure of lobotomy that was done to us, which is generational conditioning, and then get back in the driver's seat of our own bodies and minds so we can be who we are, who we're supposed to be. Like, we are the oldest people on the planet, the most powerful people on the planet. Why are we so afraid of everything? You know, and especially as a woman, like as the mother of all civilization on the planet, as a melanated woman, what are you afraid of? Like, get over yourself. Like, get over that fear. And I know it's easier said than done, but, I know I've been talking a lot, Mama, and I know you got to go. It's about
domestication. It's all about domestication. They have domesticated us to be this way. It has worked very well in their favor. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've engineered us to be the way we are. How you going to break out of that? Okay. So I really enjoyed your show. To tell you the truth, I learned a lot here,
Me too, shoot. Yeah. I got all my questions out, and I got a few questions in from my sisters, too. So I'm glad. I thank you so much for coming on. You really made my day, my week, my year. So I really appreciate that. And anytime you want to come on, you got something to promote, you just want to rap, give me a call and let me know.
Okay, and thank you for having me on the show, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, you too now. Peace.
All right. Peace.